Dave Ramsey, a renowned radio talk show host, has helped millions of business owners get out of debt and, more importantly, build wealth. But there's a piece of advice he gives to contractors that most people completely ignore, and it's costing them thousands of dollars every single month. Now, I've spent some time going through Dave's content on how he fixes cash flow for these businesses. And I found the exact framework that he uses to help contractors fix their cash flow problems. And the best part? I'm going to show you how you can easily implement his advice using tools that actually work. So you don't have to chase people to get paid. You don't have to struggle each month figuring out where the cash flow is. Now, before we jump into the tactics that Dave recommends, you must understand how Dave thinks about getting paid. Because if you don't get this part right, nothing else matters. Dave has 3 core beliefs when it comes to contractor payments. Point number 1 is it's typically not a collection problem.
We always say around here, and it's going to be true in your case too, that a collections problem is not really the problem. It's a symptom of the client relationship has not been handled properly. Now, that's a very nice way of saying you didn't tell them what you expect them to do and hold them to it.
Most contractors think they have a collection problem. Dave says that's the wrong thinking. If someone's not paying you on time, that's more of a symptom. The real problem likely is you have never set the expectations up front. You can't really get mad at people for not doing something you never told them they need to do. Now think about that principle. Dave's second philosophy regarding contract payments is that the relationship starts before the job does.
You didn't set the table. I'm telling you to set the table before dinner, not try to figure out how to get the plates out after dessert.
You see, the conversation about payments doesn't happen after the invoice is sent. It must happen before you ever start the work. To illustrate, you don't set the table for dinner after dessert. Dave's third point, good contractors get paid fast.
I got to tell you, if a contractor reacts poorly to the way I just told you to present that, humbly and asking for help, I'm a small business guy, I need your help, and if he kicks sideways after that and is a jerk, you don't need to work for him because he's probably broke.
The builders who pay you fast really aren't doing you any favors. They're the ones you should be bending over backwards for. In reality, they're the ones who keep your cash flow healthy, and you need to let them know that. Now, these 3 philosophies that Dave highlights are absolutely solid, good business practices. There's a problem. If you don't have the systems in place for sending quotes, collecting payments, tracking who pays you on time, you're always stuck at square one. You can't have the best conversation in the world with a client about payment expectations, but you're still sending invoices through text messages, tracking everything in spreadsheets, manually following up with every single person. The reality is you're just going to lose track, and that's where most contractors fail. They understand Dave's advice, they even try to implement it, but they don't have the systems to make it stick. So I'm going to show you how to set up your payment systems in SolvePro so you can actually implement what Dave's teaching. Because when you have the right tools, and you would agree, having the right tool makes all the difference, then getting paid on time becomes automatic instead of an exhausting exercise. And cash flow will never hold you back in your business again. Let me show you how we can actually do this. Let's address the first point that Dave had. Remember what he said? The problem isn't collections. The problem is you never told them what to expect. So how do you fix that? Well, it's very simple. You set clear payment expectations before you ever start the work. Here is how you can do that. I'll share my screen and we'll go through it step by step. So in SolvePro, what we're going to do is simply go to customers, and we're going to add a new customer and go through the process. We're going to click Add Customer. We'll fill out basic information. Let's say Sarah Ablin. And we'll enter an email address. We'll give her a phone number. And let's enter the location. So 329 East Central Avenue. Oh, it matched it. We'll just pick it and we'll hit save. Now, instantly, once we added the customer, we're taken to the customer card. Now, we want to create a work order. Go to Work Orders, click Add Work Order. And here we fill out basic information about the work we're going to do. So we'll say it's a standard work order. Our terms are net 30. Our billing type is set. Yeah, we want an approval on this. We come down and let's enter a brief work description. Let's say, build a walking path 350 feet long by 4 feet wide paved. And let's add a couple items. So first off, we'll add the item of paving. I just start typing and it matches to what we have in QuickBooks. So paver, walkway installation. We select it, and you know what? We want 350 feet of it. Automatically, it does the math and gives us the total. Now, it would be nice to have some labor assigned to this, so we're going to click on Labor Estimate, and let's say John Smith is going to do this project, and it's going to take him 40 hours to complete this, an entire week. It's a big project. We can see it automatically calculated labor for us, the retail amount for that particular user. Since this is such a big project, though, I also want to require a deposit. It would be nice to communicate that to the customer. So I'm going to click the link at the bottom, Add Required Deposit. Yep. What's the deposit amount? We're going to say it's $7,500. Hit save. We can now see that we have our items, or our materials, you could say, our labor, and we have the required deposit defined. We look at our work order. We also say, look, we want an email approval on this. Everything looks good. Let's just save it. So as we take a look at this preview, we can see very clearly that our terms are set so that we're going to communicate with the customer. We see our total. We see our deposit amount, and the customer now knows when they need to pay us when we do this work. The next step is send it for approval. So we go up to Other Actions, we click Approval, Request Approval. Okay, what do we want to send? We could send the work order itself, we can send a custom proposal, and you know what? Because I want to communicate clearly, I'm going to say attach my payment terms. All I have to do is hit send. So now the system says, okay, work order approval request sent successfully. Well, let's go over to our email. And voila, we have an email already that was sent. And we can look at it, work order approval request. We can come down and we can see the attached work order. There's our amount, there's our deposit, there's our terms. That's pretty good. If we scroll down, we could see our actual payment terms were attached as well to that PDF document. Everything that we needed to have clearly communicated to the customer at that time. And we can also see that the approval has been requested. That brings us to point number 2. You remember Dave said that you need to set the table before dinner, not try to get the plates out after dessert. Now, that really means that the payment conversation happens before the work starts, not after you send the invoice. So here's how to make that automatic. Now let's notice our screen again here, and we'll just simply go through the steps. Remember the email that we received? It explains what we're doing, build a walking path, etc. And we have this big button, review work order. And we have that because we said we need an approval before we do the work. Well, let's click work order approval. Here we have now a picture of the work order. Again, we can see very clearly that the total is $54,000 and a deposit is required. We've already communicated our terms But before I can schedule this, I want them to agree to that. And more importantly, I want them to address the cash flow issue and pay the deposit. Well, they can approve and pay deposit in one step. So now we can take a look here and simply enter our credit card information, put in our expiration date, and put in our code, and hit submit. Now again, this is the deposit payment being made upfront before I ever schedule the work. We hit submit, the payment's processed, we get, hey, the work order's been approved. Now if we go back to Solve Pro, notice what happens. It instantly changed from approval requested to approved. Work order number 79. If we go to our Schedule tab, we can clearly see here that now work order number 79, down here at the bottom, is ready to be scheduled. And I can simply drag it and drop it to when we're going to start this project. Because it's been approved, I have the deposit in hand, and now we're good to go. Voila, it's scheduled. Now, when you think about this, that brings us to the next point, Dave's philosophy number 3. Dave helps us to appreciate that we should bend over backwards for contractors who pay you fast. You see, these are the ones that are keeping your cash flow healthy. But how do you know who's paying you fast and who's always late? Solve Pro tracks this for you automatically. To illustrate, let's just look around at a couple features in Solve Pro and see what we can learn from it. If we go back to Solve Pro and we go back to our master work order list, we can easily see the status of our work orders. It's been approved, or approval is still requested, or they're open. In other words, they're scheduled, ready to go. Well, we can easily filter these just by clicking on our filters. Here's all the ones that are waiting for approvals to be completed. In other words, the customer has to acknowledge the terms you sent, the amount that's required for a deposit before you schedule the job. Everything clearly laid out before them. Well, we can also go to payments. Under billing, look at payments, and we can see all the information that comes in will filter into the screen. What do we learn from these screens? Well, basically we learned that Dave Ramsey's advice is solid. His advice helps us to manage our work orders. You see, we have the right systems in place to implement it. And Solve Pro is built specifically for service businesses like yours, whether it be landscaping companies, janitorial companies, excavation, contractors, remodelers, etc. Any service-based business or contracting business that manages jobs that need to get paid, we have it covered. We track the payments. We sync with QuickBooks. We give you mobile access so your crews can update job status in real time. What does that do for you? Well, no more chasing paperwork. No more guessing when you'll get paid. Now, the good news is you can try it for free for 30 days. No credit card required. But we'll help you get set up with free onboarding. And you'll see exactly how to implement Dave's framework with tools that actually work. So if you want to stop wondering whether you can make payroll next week and start getting paid in 15 days instead of 40, click on the link in the description and start your free trial today. Get control of your cash flow. Track who's paying you on time and scale your business without the chaos. And by the way, subscribe to this channel and we'll see you on the next one.